Sorry about the recess, but thank you so much for your patience. Miss Kelly Brooks is not feeling well. She has left. So just make a note of that for the recording. Moving on to the town website renewals. I believe Oscar Pupper in Quebec. Town website renewal, scholarship committee, and audit workshop review. Audit work paper review. You want to table those to a workshop, or do you want to discuss them now?
I'm just going to discuss them now in public, and then what we get to, just to kind of get our feet wet with the idea. So with the Templeton website renewal, generally what I want to do is I want to outline a project, and this is the first steps in that is to take the website, and this gives it a scope, it gives it the purpose, it gives it the background of why it's needed, and how we're going to approach the project. Obviously, nothing is set in stone. Once again, this is a working foundation on how we're going to approach the project as if we were building a school, because this is a seriously needed issue, and it's considered infrastructure in any public entity or private sector business. It's
Does that
infrastructure.
include like working with your smartphones and stuff like that?
Yes, so what I had done initially is to build this project was I had surveyed a couple different options for Templeton in terms of the website process. So one of the programs and platforms used now is Virtual Towns and Schools. In Virtual Towns and Schools, it's what you'd see probably, I would say, in 75% of the Commonwealth municipalities. It's that same simple template. I think we pay $2,400 annually for it, and that's with the webinar training sessions, with the customer support, which is 24/7, I believe, and so on and so forth. And to update, right now, when you log in with your mobile phone, I'm sure the public understands that when you log in there, it looks like crap, for lack of a better word. So they had responded with us saying that there is a responsive design platform out there that is an additional $2,400 to just convert. And what they will do is they'll take our information and port it over, and then they'll let us do our thing as we're currently doing it. So they said that could be stretched out over 3 years for $800 added on to that. So bringing it to a total of $3,200 a year for 3 years, and then it would initially drop down to the $2,400 a month service. However, I do not feel comfortable converting right now to that, because we have a lack of personnel that's trained to update. We have a lack of IT policy. We have a lack of uniform email addresses, where we have the advisory chair committee has his title, the selectmen have different titles. The DPW director has, I believe, Parks and Cemetery email address. So what we want to do is we want to figure out a nice, neat directory for email addresses, port that over to a .gov. We want to take all the all the website department listings and clean those up, make sure they're reviewed for accuracy, submit them to the proper departments to make sure that they are vetting the information themselves. And then moving forward in that project, we want to offer training to these individuals who will be updating, so that individuals of certain committees have access to update their own documents and maintain them. And overall, there would be a periodic review of those. So this project is outlining all of these steps that we really need to take to get to the point of even thinking about converting, which would be the reviewing and the vetting. And then once we reach that point, we have the options of the Virtual Towns and Schools. There was another program, it was Civic Plus, that I had talked to, which I can definitely model those at the workshop. Some of the websites there, they're very intuitive. However, the price point on that, I believe Acton, Mass has a premium platform that they use using Civic Plus. It's very intuitive. The calendars, when you go into the calendar listings, it's drag and drop and all of that. They have archives of meeting minutes. It's actually like if it was your computer with the files and folders, so you can go in there and browse by that. Once again, it's very intuitive for anybody who's tech savvy, and it cleans up a lot of the issue. It's a little bit more pricey and expensive. And then there's one more which the website eludes me, and it's somewhere in between the middleman, and it does a little bit more than the Virtual Towns and Schools, but a little bit less in terms of design platform.
Yeah, we also need to be sure to look at the people that are doing the codification of the bylaws.
Mhm.
They offer a
Yes.
website service.
Do you know what their title is? I'll reach out to them.
I don't know, we'd have to check with the clerk.
Okay.
But it was, when we saw the demo of it, it was pretty impressive.
So when I had gone out for a lot of these, and just kind of getting quotes and prices and talking to the ability, the big thing I kept in mind was how hard it is to maintain, you know, the ease of access for users. And the other thing was price point, definitely was a price point issue. I mean, to spend $10,000 on a website to have it kind of go to where we have our website now would be a waste of money. It'd be just throwing cash at the option. So I think that the most important thing is to outline this project, clean it up the best we can, and set guidelines in motion to keep this website on track for 10, 15, 20 years if we all, you know, follow these guidelines for each department. So once again, read through this at your leisure until the next workshop. I mean, this is obviously a work in progress. When you look at the phases of it, how this would take place and how this would go through, and this would all be done on my behalf or whoever else wishes to help me out. I have a few local volunteers that are willing to help out with this project. But then again, this is all under the select board's approval. So I think at the next workshop, we can really vet through this and what we want to do with the scope of work.
Okay.
And really start hammering down
Look at that,
ASAP.
Doug. Okay. Okay, sounds good.
What,
Do you have anything to add, Doug, on that work?
No, I think just be sure we look at the.
yeah, absolutely, and I made a note of that, and that was the town clerk, correct? The town clerk's working through the
Yeah,
codification?
she is.
Codification, yeah, with
Yep.
the bylaws. Okay. Okay, great. So we'll put that on the workshop. Scholarship Committee, obviously you and I were working diligently on that.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Could I have a copy of that possibly?
Of the project guide?
Yes, you mentioned $2,400 and set up a website a year.
Yes, that's what we spend annually, and that's for tech support, and that's for the rights of it.
The amount to maintain the site, how much?
That would just be on us. They don't actually maintain the website
Maintain
themselves.
yourself?
Yeah, so the $2,400 a month is technically licensing their platform. So when you use it, the $2,400 a month is just to use it.
Who would be your host?
Is it 24 a month or 24 a year?
The domain host, like, so currently right now we have templeton1.org.
It's
Correct that.
2,400 a
it's
year.
$2,400 a year.
A year,
Yes.
not monthly.
Oh, is that what I said,
Is it
monthly?
every year you pay that?
Annually, yes, I'm sorry.
Could I have a copy sometime, all the paperwork? Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely, at the end of the meeting, I'll take your email address down and I'll forward it to you.
Any other questions? No? Great. Christine, you good? You good?
I'd like a copy of it too, if I could.
I figured you had your eyes going, I'm like, okay. Scholarship Committee?
All right, if I may, Chairman?
Yes.
So with the scholarship committee, I had reached out to, on behalf of the select board, his name's eluding me, Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Brooks.
Mr.
John
Brooks. Lovely gentleman, he had expressed his concerns with your previous draft, and he said to me, a lot of the issues that he found were that everything was fixed, that the scholarship committee couldn't really do their job with the policy outline. So what I had done is I went through and I recreated it, cleaned it up, formatted it, and made it so that they have certain adjustments that they can make. And if you look on the first document, which is the scholarship committee guidelines, there's certain things that are in brackets that they can kind of adjust themselves. Everything else is dictated by Mr. Brooks himself. But if you look at, under the chairman, responsibilities, deliver applications to Narragansett Regional High School no later than, and then in brackets, February 1st. So he will be able to adjust that date to what he wants and kind of submit it back to me, and I'll finalize everything for him, and then we can move forward with that. And the other thing is that they didn't have formal control over the application process. So when the scholarships are created by the guidance counselor typically, I'm not sure what the application really looks like, and that was something that I couldn't really find due to website issues, I'm sure. So what happened was I found a draft. This is actually coming out of, I think, Westford. I took their draft and I relabeled it and kind of added in what the scholarship committee is looking for. And I made a responsibility for the representative member, which would be somebody coming from the school. And it would be his sole duty and responsibility to recommend the scholarship application yearly to the committee and taking their recommendations.
Okay.
So that was something that they can definitely work with on that. And then the other thing is the Town of Templeton Scholarship Committee. There is the mission statement, which is in brackets. Ultimately, they would have to come up with what they feel comfortable as defining their committee mission. And that's, I actually do have samples of that I will be submitting to Mr. Brooks when I attend their scholarship committee meeting, so that they can kind of move forward what they want to proclaim themselves
Do you know
as
when
doing.
they're meeting?
Mr. Brooks said that he didn't know. He usually rallies the troops, in August, so that they gear up for scholarship committee coming up or scholarship in the spring.
Okay.
Another concern that we had was that the scholarship funds, where I think we have $4,000 a year, and when we're distributing 20 applicants, they all get accepted. Or when 20 people apply, they all get accepted as long as they meet the requirements, so then they divvy up the funds, $4,000 to however many applicants. What I had done is I had set in fixed limits, an upper and a lower limit, and it reads, and this is again, that they can change this because it is in brackets, the awards will range from no less than $500 to no more than $2,000 until all the Templeton scholarship funds for the current year have been allocated. This allows them to control, and this allows for whatever the funds may be in the future to be flexible. So say next year they get 20,000, they will be able to award X amount of scholarships within that limit. Some people may get higher, some people may get lower, and that's all up to them.
I see.
The other is the deadlines on that. That's something else that they need to look at. I don't know how strict they are on the deadlines. Once again, that's something that comes down to the committee. So all I really did for them is just make something that they can work with to fit into our policies and procedures that we will be pushing forward.
Excellent.
So that is all on them.
Okay, and have you sent this working copy to Mr. Brooks already?
I have not. I wanted to pass this through the select board, make sure that you guys are fine with it, and then I will be relaying this to Mr. Brooks. And I told him that I would attend his scholarship committee meeting to kind of work them through this and allow them to do their working session on how they want to approach it.
Okay, we'll keep this in old business for a while. Just keep us abreast of when you go into that meeting.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Audit work paper review and approval?
So I'm actually going to ask to table this because I do not have a long enough HDMI cord to really work it into the projector. I could sit there,
No, that's okay.
but I do want to make mention of what that will be, so
Okay.
When it does come up again, we're all kind of on the same page. The audit work paper review and approval, so me, Carter, and Kelly had sat down and discussed the audit paperwork and the remediation process of what we need to do to get ourselves back on track and to kind of curb ourselves from this happening again. The big thing that happens in private sector is that, these issues come up, and a lot of times they're just due to negligence. Someone doesn't know the job, someone wasn't trained properly, or, something along those lines. And sometimes you come across potential fraud risk, that they did it acting with gross negligence. Here the issue is with a lot of our audit problem was that there is no guideline. So nobody knows what to do at what times, there's no checklist, there's no formalization. So we have remediated, I would say, probably 50% of the issue. Probably closer to 90% of it has been solved, but it is lacking a proper fix. The Band-Aid is there. We need to come up with the formalized, this is what's going to happen.
Okay.
And that is going to involve a lot of discussion that comes back to the Board of Selectmen on who's going to own these. So I know with the single audit, when that comes up, do you guys know when the single audit deadline is?
It triggers every year dependent upon the amount of federal funds that you get.
So that is something that I don't believe Select Board would really know unless the discussion came up. And that's something that we need to really look at and consider, that as selectmen change from period to period, we are all a relatively young board. There needs to be something here to say, hey, this is how Templeton is operating. This is how our policies, procedures, schedules, checklists, and everything go through, so that we can be better informed on our management decisions on regarding financial statements, not on an operative management stance, but on a financial management stance. We do have a financial committee, our advisory committee, and they do a lot of that. However, we need to also be on top of that as well, and to make sure that these issues don't happen again. Now, we're all well informed of them because we just had the audit. But if you replaced us all and you sat somebody back in these seats, would they have any idea? And that's where the issue that happens in Templeton is that there's a lack of that fixed experience, and we need to write that experience out. So with those audit work papers, this would be to just finalize the solutions, to finalize what our findings were and how we're going to come up with it, and then we need to assign who's responsible to come up and follow through with each and every single one of these remediations.
Are you able to send that to us electronically?
Yes, I will send that to you electronically so that we will have review of it. I know
That'd be great.
she wanted to table that, because we didn't, so we'll postpone that to the workshop.
Sound good. Workshop. Thanks, Cameron.
Absolutely.
Regarding the 4 open meeting law violations that just came in this week, Mr. Tenzini, would you like to discuss those, or?
Sure. You have had 4 more open meeting law violation complaints filed with you. I did take a preliminary look at them. They are without basis. Nonetheless, you will need to assign someone to draft the response, and then it would be best to respond expediently. So it's a short week, but I would encourage you to try to have the response on your agenda for the 10th of July to dispense with them quickly. While they are without merit in the preliminary review, they nonetheless do take a bit of time. And that's based upon a philosophy that I expressed earlier, that you try to be as thorough in your response, because if they are appealed, the Attorney General's office basically gets the complaint and your response, and that's kind of what they go by.
I'd like to make the motion for me to do a follow-up response. I can do all 4 of these, and then pending a review from Mr. Terenzini for final submission, and back to the board. Just to take the workload off Mr. Terenzini for these.
No, I got what you're saying. I'm just, I don't understand.
A couple of them are confused.
They
with
are
a
very
couple of them.
frivolous, so.
I don't,
Yeah, I would second that.
I mean, I hate to laugh, I don't understand.
Yeah, but we have to respond regardless.
Yes.
Yes, you
Absolutely.
have no choice but to respond. So what I can do is I'll send, if that motion passes, I would send Mr. Forts the drafts that we used on the first 2, and I'd be happy to work with him so that by next Thursday, there's drafts to put into your package.
Yeah.
I will only be here one day next week, but
Okay,
I'll be accessible by email
that works for me.
over the weekend. I don't know. Hard to hear with you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, was there a second?
I don't believe so, not yet.
I seconded.
There was then.
I did.
Oh,
Doug seconded.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion concerning these? I mean, do you want to read this into public?
No.
I mean, if you'd like, I can read out all 4 of them. They're very short, and
They're all from the same individual?
yes, they all
Yeah.
are from Robert May.
I would request that we not read
Why
this.
don't, why don't we do this? Why don't we, once we get the formalized things back from what you're working on, we come back into a meeting, we can read them at that point. How's that? That way the public can understand, what we're going through here.
Certainly.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Cameron?
Yes.
Diane? Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Any old business? Yes, sir.
I'm not sure, the old business or new business. It's about South Road being repaired.
About what?
South Road being repaired.
South Road being repaired. Well, when we go into public comments, how's that?
Is that later on?
That's in a couple seconds.
Sure, I'm gonna skip, but that's fine.
Not just, I understand what you're saying.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no worries. Any other old business, Mr. Tenzini?
I have nothing, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Anything as far as the selectmen are concerned? Anything?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
no.
good. Public comments at this point. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Joe Jamucci.
Can you, I can't hear you.
My name's Joe Jamucci. I've lived in South Road for 36 years. I talked to the foreman back in 2014, he says, you look into South Road, repairing it. Well, 2014, looked around a little bit, patched some holes. 2015, talked to him again. He knocked off the water lines, the drains. We're moving along, moving forward, Mr. Lucci says. 2015, 2016, he's cutting trees down, side of the road. Still moving forward. Keeps on telling me next year, 14 to 15 to 16, nothing happens. Orchard Lane was done, our river was down, Pictureville Road was done. Those roads are horrible, I'm not saying you weren't horrible, okay? South Road's horrible, it's a main traffic road, a lot of trucks, a lot of families on the road.
Yep.
All kind of development out there and stuff. Sometimes you can build a road up, sometimes you build a road down. But we're building more roads, we're not maintaining the roads we have in town, that's a problem.
Okay.
You know, there's only so much money to go around, I understand that, and the department works very hard with what they have. I just want to know what year, 2014, 2019, 2020, when is Southfield gonna be repaired? When's the money coming from? You know, I got over 100 signatures here on South Road.
Okay, that's a,
And people, I went to people's homes, I got people come to my house now. I mean, I look are nice people.
no, I understand, I really
People I
appreciate.
never met before, people I met 20 years ago, I meet them again. So I think the voices out there, I talked to Mr. Mayo several times about, he's been very helpful with me and stuff. I'm not complaining, no one, they're doing the job, but Southfield needs attention,
Okay, I understand.
you know, it needs attention.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything to add before?
All I have to add, is that I have submitted a road list to Carter to look at, and we are in the process of looking at it.
Okay,
Right now, South Road is on that list to have some repairs done. We have some drainage issues up along South Road that need to be done prior to any paving up along the midsection of South Road anyway.
Is that an engineering job that needs to be done?
That is an engineering job. We also have other issues with the drainage up in that area. The other thing is, basically the easiest way to explain South Road up in that area is, you know, you don't build a house from the top down. So if you don't take care of your infrastructure underneath and do your drainage and do your stuff underneath, you pave it and in a few years, it's gonna be junk.
understood.
Do we have any correspondence, Mr. Chairman? I'm
You go
sorry.
ahead.
Do we have any correspondence with the sewer department and water department on any of those utilities running underneath the road that need to be
Sewer
replaced?
stops before construction goes on, the sewer's go.
Okay, the sewer's not,
But
is
the
there, there's
water's been
obviously a
done
water
pretty
line?
recently, I believe it's now, right, the water?
Yes, the road list that I have given Carter has the information on water lines and sewer lines, on it. Most of the roads that I have targeted in the, you know, right in the immediate future, which are the worst roads and the highest traveled roads, have mostly good water lines under it. The water lines that are back in the 50s that they have given me, I have moved the roads down the list a little bit to give them a little bit of time so that they can replace some of those lines if they're going to. So I think we got a good list going. I think we have been working with the water department and the sewer department, to look at that infrastructure. South Road, the most I would do on South Road this year is to pave from Sapphire maybe to the water tank, where that begins the drainage issues.
And that's the worst part, though, is from the water tank down to,
No,
No,
actually,
no.
the worst part is from the water tank going up through that flat section, and
that's
that all.
between the building development there and to the water tower?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that all needs drainage, and I can certainly speak to that more with the board. But, so that's part of the issue with South Road.
Okay.
There are a good number of roads in this town that need some serious work. And we have committed a lot of Chapter 90 money to Royalston Road, which needs to be completed. You've already committed an awful lot to it prior to me getting here. That needs to be completed. Bridge Street's in bad shape. There are many roads that we need to look at. It's not just South Road, but South Road is certainly one of the roads that we need to look at as well.
So, Mr. Mayor, you taking, obviously, you got a good handle on what's gonna happen and what's transpiring and the coordination with the TA as far as the priority of the roads, correct?
I do,
Okay, that's all I need to know. As far as me giving, or us giving you an answer at this point, me personally, I can't give an answer. I would have to depend on my DPW and my TA at this point to determine by the statute where the road structures are gonna stand.
Can I speak now?
Yes,
I understand that. I got 100 signatures there. How many signatures do you have on Central Street or Bridge Street, anywhere else? I got 100 people upset.
no, I know what you're gonna say.
And the big complaint here is the trucks are breaking the road. Well, the truck driver, that's his job, not to break the road, that's his livelihood. The truck driver stops every stop sign. I got 4-way stop signs at my house, there ain't one car that stops there. Don't people stop the truck driver, because that's the livelihood.
Okay, so now this is like a secondary complaint, I would assume, because now you have the roads is one complaint, now you have people that aren't stopping at stop signs, so you need police.
That's not my complaint.
Okay, then what,
The road needs to be fixed.
I understand that. I mean, obviously,
That's one complaint I have.
well, thank you. Once we get more information, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. But thank you, Al, for taking the lead on that and providing the list.
Most neighbors, we go down there, we trim the road beside our homes, the other house, we trim stuff back from the rains, we pick rubbish up. Look around South Road. The roads are clean. The people live there, take pride in the community.
No, I
They
understand.
take care of it. You want that to happen.
I understand. Yeah,
Keep
yes,
looking at
Dave.
it.
I wanna thank you for coming in tonight and getting 100 signatures, that's my plow route. I wish it was a brand new road I could plow, believe me. I bang the hell out of my
All
plow
the time.
on that road.
I know.
Every
It
day.
gets worse every year as well.
How about how,
Where the drainage goes across, or it's like going off a cliff.
yeah,
That's the
And-
problem.
And where those drains are, I think we're in litigation because it's draining onto somebody's property that,
again, that's information I can't divulge at this point. Yes,
Mr. Mayo, the road was done 15 years ago, blacktop, resurfaced, reclaimed, very good. Within 2 months, but 2 new homes there, and those are water drains you're talking about, the Frosties. And I think,
Nope.
I can speak to Mr. Mayo, you can put something in the contract. If the road is resurfaced, the state says no water mains for 5 years, the town should do the same thing. Am I correct, Alan? So this problem will come, I still apologize again. you
okay,
know?
what I'm gonna do is this, I'm gonna put you on the next agenda item for South Road. Alan, can you make sure you do your research and be able to report back to the Board of Selectmen with the TA as far as what's transpiring about the progress going forward on South Road? Is that good enough?
And what the funding
Is that
would be?
okay?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I respectfully request that you put it on the 07/24?
Roger.
It's Thursday now, we have Monday, which this
that's
building
perfect.
is
That's fine.
closed. It just, Alan needs a little more time than.
That's fine, thank you, sir. Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
also, just so that you know, our reclaiming and paving bids are out right now and are due back around July 10th, so until those come in, I really can't.
Well, I'm looking at 7/24,
Okay.
7/24,
That may help us, great.
okay? 7/24, July 24th, we'll make sure it's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, any other public comments at this point? Yes, sir.
One last thing. Who would like my reservation of 100 names?
We'll take.
I would like a copy of that.
Yeah,
please.
we'll take it here at the TA's office, we'll take that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other public comments at this point? Yes, Will.
I'm really, after this, what I've seen here so far this night, that we had a discussion, and I'm very reluctant to bring it up, about what we had talked about.
Yes.
Uh,
Do you want to
I
save
don't
that
wa-
till?
I don't wanna get into another,
I understand what you're saying. Do you want to save that? Do you want to talk about that tomorrow? And,
you have another,
no, I mean, you and I can bring it to the TA and you guys can talk about it tomorrow? Or have you already discussed that with the TA?
no, I have not discussed it.
Okay, well,
I mean,
then bring it up.
We have had an email
Then bring it up.
sent about the,
Okay, it's an open, it's,
the annual report.
okay,
The board viewed his edited version
mm-hmm,
versus the version that we had.
mm-hmm,
There was an omission of 4 NDE transfers that we
yep,
looked at and disapproved that are not on the edited version. The version that we ended up presenting was one that was given to us by past administration to use that particular form. I guess the DA didn't like our particular form. I understand that, but I mean, the omission for 4 India transfers really should have been on there. It does not tell the story of what the advisory committee had to go through and to take and review those India transfers and why we ended up doing it and the results even some of the results of the ones that we did pass, there was some discussion as to why we passed them. I mean, I don't wanna get into a lengthy.
No, I understand. So
I
basically,
mean, we would like to take it end up, the committee basically voted to take it end up, making sure that those didn't get omitted, because that is the history of what the advisory board did. It looks like in the edited version, all we did was we did approvals. We didn't have any that we disapproved of. And that's really what the whole question was from the committee.
I see what you're saying. So out of the 4 pages of transfers that happened, your major concern is not so much what was approved, which was about the 4 that weren't approved.
Right, that they weren't included.
Okay.
I mean, and he has said about editing. I saw a couple of other reports that were done by 2 other entities. One was 15 pages and one 12 pages. I understand he's concerned about the length
Yeah.
of the book. Yes, it was 8 pages, but like I said, that was the format that was given to us by past administration to use it and put it in that form, and that's how we were told to end up putting the information.
Okay.
I understand he has a different method. If we had been able to take it, if he had communicated to us that he ended up seeing about the emissions.
So let me ask you this. So is there any place else in town register
No.
that those 4 items that you guys, as the advisory committee, did not pass?
No.
Is it logged in someplace else besides the annual report?
As a login per se?
Right.
Is it archived?
No, other than on the sheets themselves
Okay.
and the comments.
So
that
the
were-
audit companies would see those, I would assume, right? I mean, people that look through paperwork would see that there was 4 that were disapproved based
Yes.
on your thought
You-
process.
And that was, they would be saying, okay, these were disapproved or whatever,
Okay.
versus, so, I mean, there is a string that has to happen.
No, I understand
There's
what
some
you're
that are
saying.
accepted, some that were rejected. I mean, just like,
And that's how you operate. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, I will, I don't know.
I mean, I can just add the comment, the 3 years that I was the chairman on the advisory committee, the annual report always listed every request that came in and whether it was approved or denied. It did, the 3 years I did it, it was that way.
And how many pages was yours?
Typically 1.
Yeah, I mean,
this was a
we've
very
been-
unusual year. I mean,
No, I understand. Yes, Mr. Tanzini.
This is actually fairly simple. It was not communicated to me that there were 4 omitted items they would like to see added. Because if it is that simple, and we can deal with a text without the posturing, we can do that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, if I could?
Yes.
That was put into the email that there was omissions on there.
Okay.
Right in the email
Yeah,
itself.
but those, just specifically for those.
By the way,
4?
you were all on copy for that.
Okay.
Because we felt that was necessary. So you understood
All right,
what we created and that there was omissions. If
All
you
right,
go
so-
back and review that email about us wanting the whole report.
so those 4 we can fix.
If they're communicated to me as to what they are.
Yes.
However, what was communicated to me was that here's our 8-page report, we've reviewed yours, we want our report published in its entirety.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
It
Yes.
was-
If I may, just to respond to Carter, and I was CC'd, I just pulled up the email. This was a message from you, Will Spring, on regards. At the advisory committee meeting on June 21st, 2017, a review of the FY16 issued advisory committee's annual report compared to your edited version was done. The conclusion of the committee was that the submitted report be the one that is issued and not your edited version. As the committee's report is a public document, it is not subject to be edited by anyone other than the public body from which it is being issued. In addition, the edited version does not include the transfers brought before the committee which were reviewed, discussed, and were not approved. Excluding them from the report would be in violation of the Town Bylaw Article 4, Section 6. Again, the attachment is the Advisory Committee FY16 Annual Report being resubmitted to be included in the revised Town Annual Report. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, Will, your wording is very strong there. I don't know if you understand that it is very strong. And I understand what you're coming from because I was sitting at the advisory committee meeting when you guys were in deliberation of the issue. I would recommend just asking. I think in the point of saying that there would be a violation, the point of coming out so strong. I know Kelly had spoken about, really cooperating and working together. If you had asked him, point blank, with us CC'd, can you include these? And he came back with a response saying, no, I will not. There would be an issue, we would have to follow up, well, why not? But here, I think it gets under somebody's skin when they're being told that, you're in violation X, Y, Z, as we can see with the open meeting law complaints.
Well, we were already told they would not be included.
Yeah, that an email.
What's that?
Is
In
that
an
an
earl-
email
In
correspondence?
an earlier email, we were told that
Earlier email?
that the edited version would be the one.
The edited version would be, so the version that was edited was to be submitted to the annual report?
Yes.
Okay.
We were told that previously.
When it was put into the annual report beforehand, because I had thought when I attended your advisory committee meeting was that you guys were unaware that when you submitted that 7-page document and then the annual reports came out, it was edited and you weren't aware.
It wasn't
So-
even put in fully.
So were you made aware that it was to be edited?
Yes, it was, and that's why we ended up reviewing the edited version and said, this is the net, and
Okay.
the wording that was there.
Okay.
Because that was the discussion about, we shouldn't be doing this. We are obliged by town bylaw to take and provide a full accounting of what we do, including our expenditures. I see some other departments that had their expenditures, their expense accounts.
I got you.
And that was eliminated also.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Will. That's, I appreciate that. I'll look into that further. And either myself or Mr. Tenzini will have a response for you on your advisory committee, okay?
Well, all we need, Mr. Chairman, is the 4 items
Yep.
that they would like to see included. We can work on the format, and I'm sure, as you will see in the email that I sent back, this conversation through email is not always conducive
Correct.
to effectively moving things forward.
Understood.
But that's the medium that's been chosen.
Excuse me.
Okay. If you could just send the 4 things that you want to be included, so we can add, we'll,
Well, they were included in the whole sheet.
right, I think at the top, at the bottom, the middle, they're all over the place.
They
so we-
were all over the place. They
Well,
was-
can you grab just those 4 and send them to Mr. Tenzini so we can
If I-
identify
yes.
those? Thank you.
I'll have to edit that.
Okay,
What-
that'll be awesome.
Should they include the
Concise table.
expenditures also?
It should be a concise table. These are the 20 things that came before us. Was approved, this wasn't. I mean, it's not rocket science.
No, but
And
it's,
it doesn't need to be 8 pages.
It's 8 pages, and
it
it
was
is still
60-something
political
transfers,
posture.
right? There was
Yeah.
60-something transfers in there?
No need for commentary. It's, the purpose of the annual report is to give people the statistical information of what the business was. It doesn't need 8 pages of commentary.
It wasn't 8 pages of commentary.
It wasn't. It was 8 pages of numbers, because it was 60, but anyways, we'll get those to you, okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
I do want to make a quick point. Anything for the annual reports, those are approved by the Board of Selectmen, correct? At the end of the year, according to Mr. Terenzini's email, according to the Board of Selectmen, have approved the draft of the special
This was
fund.
the supplemental financial.
Okay.
That's
And
what
I
we're
will,
talking.
based upon now knowing that there are 4 items
Mhm.
that are of great import, we can certainly work to get that done,
Okay.
and we will include them in the special financial report.
Okay, great. Okay? Excellent. Any board staff comments?
I do, Mr. Chairman, when the board is open.
Anyone have any comments? You got the floor, Mr. Tenzini.
Doug, if you could pass that down, please. This is a follow-up from last evening. We had distributed this previously to the board, but I wanted to update you on it
Great.
prior to forwarding it to the advisory committee, which I will do upon my return Wednesday. And I'd be
No,
happy to
you got
give the advisory committee chairman a paper copy. Holly, do that for me, please. but I will get them out electronically upon my return next week. So basically, this is what Mary Jane Handy referred to.
Yep.
We've taken all of the various budget activities that the town needs to engage upon up until the actual award of a bond anticipation note for the construction of the school. We have a section which is all of the sort of the building committee activities. The state asked that we added a responsible person, which I thought was a good idea. We had done that. And the blocked in, sort of the gray shade, it tells you that things are on track or, you know, where we're at. Whenever we see an item that needs to be added, which I'll touch upon, they will be in italics so that people can see the distinguishment. And so, you know, in following up on last night, I spoke with John Winokur. He's the owner's project manager. I've been trying to be more of a participant on that process because I think that, yes, we've got select board members there, but I think it's important that we have that financial piece tuned into it as well. So the architect has completed their review of the project under the energy code. They found that we do need to improve our scores, that we cannot get more out of the HVAC system as we had hoped, and we've explained why. So they think that they can improve the score with respect to the energy code through some changes to the lighting systems. Some simple things like making sure that wall colors are highly reflective, that there's automatic dimming in different rooms whenever there's ambient lighting. So for instance, if you know, it's a really bright sunny day, the shades are up and you're in this room and somebody's left the lights on, sensors actually can see that there's enough foot candles in the room, they believe, without leaving the lights on, and so the lights go down. The potential costs of that are less than $250K. They actually thought they'd be $100K plus or minus, but I wanted to use a very conservative number. As of the last design estimate, they were $700,000 under budget, and they had $700,000 of non-reimbursables, FF&E, furnishing, fixtures, equipment, the desks, the stools, the bookcases, that kind of thing. So they had about $1.4 million that they were working within as a cushion outside of the contingency. Inflation has run 2 to 4% since the last cycle. Every percentage point costs about $300K. So even if we have to add the $250, even if we have a 3% inflation, you can see how that fits into the $1.4 million that's generally available. So what I talked with John about and what we agreed was that we were going to try to get those energy redesigns done relatively soon, and as soon as they were done, move the cost estimate up earlier. That way, if the cost estimate, everything's on budget, we're good. We don't have to do any additional redesign to fit into the budget. If not, then we'll deal with that. You had 7 GCs submit in the pre-qualification round. That is now closed. That's more than you had the first time around. And they feel that there will be 5 left after review. He has suggested that we add the work on the police station and highway, and that's essentially that turning radius on South Street, Wellington. The turning radius change on Wellington. So this has been circulated to Alan and to Chief Bennett. They're going to look at it, add their different dates following the model that we've laid out for them, and then we'll meet in the next 10 days or so, try to see that that's all on track. As I say, the only other piece that we want to add to this is under town budget activity. Before we do that, 3 lines up, construction ban offering. Before we do the ban offering as part of the offering package, dependent upon how the cost estimates come in, we may need to revise the cash flow draws.
Right.
If the cost estimates are the same, frankly, the cash flow holds, because we'll be almost like 1 year to the day right behind.
Right,
So
exactly.
everything really will lock in. So as soon as we get those revised cost estimates, we'll have them run a cash flow, so that Mary Jane Carney can make that part of it.
Makes sense.
So we'll get this off to the advisory committee as it is, and then when we add this, I did say items that are done are in yellow. This is before I realized that
It's black and white.
Yeah.
I got you.
the copier that I was gonna send it to wasn't doing color today. So I guess we'll change that to light gray or something.
I understood.
So we can do it on black and white. But I wanted the board to be reminded of this tracking. Absolutely, I wanted you to see it before I sent it to the advisory committee. I always think that's a matter of respect for your body. And I think it was a very nice update. It was for me, it was a very positive conversation
Good.
today on the project.
I'm glad.
I do want to comment, this is a great Gantt chart too, disclosing both the building project and the town finance. This is really helpful to see these both side by side, so thank you.
You're quite welcome.
All right, any other board member comments? I don't see any. Mr. Tenzini, do we have to go in executive session? We do need to go in executive session. Discussed, I don't have the statute in front of me about contracts.
For negotiation of with non-union personnel,
That is correct.
specifically the town administrator.
Yes, correct.
Interim town administrator.
That is correct again.
And my understanding is that you'll be taking a vote after this
We are.
executive session.
I think that's the motion.
Motion for?
Yep. Have a second on that?
Second.
Have a motion, a second, any other discussion? And again, we will be coming back to do a vote. I see none. Cameron?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.